Fantastic Omega Diver 300M with a chronograph and a regatta countdown in titanium. It's the ETNZ coming up. This morning, we're profiling the Omega Seamaster Diver 300M ETNZ. So I know that's a mouthful. Omega likes to use really long names and really long reference numbers. You can find the reference number in the description of the video. I won't say it here, but what's cool about this watch is that it's so different from all the other Diver 300Ms that you see floating around. So if you're a fan of the Omega Special Editions, or of the America's Cup race, or you just like the look of it, this one might be the watch for you. It's a really cool watch. It's an all titanium case. It's a ceramic bezel and a sapphire crystal. And when you look at this watch, the first thing that you notice is that it's a lot of gray, silver, and red accents. And I love that. The red accents have to do with the chronograph function of the watch. And so you have the second hand for the chronograph hand, the minutes hand, and the hour counter are all red. You also have the upper pusher for the chronograph to start and stop is also in red. So when we look at this watch, there's a lot going on here that I'll explain. This is the helium escape valve at 10, as we always see on the Seamaster. What's different about this one is that in the middle of it, there's a little button, and that's what you use to adjust the date. So the date is on this one at 6 o'clock. It's a little aperture there. And so there's actually a function for this as opposed to just for you saturation divers. So that's pretty cool. Similar to the other Seamaster 300Ms, you can use the chronograph even underwater. You don't have to unscrew anything. It's ready to go all the time. You can start, stop, and reset just like a standard chronograph. So what you see here around the pushers, they look sort of like the Daytona screw mechanism that you have to unscrew the pushers before you can use the chronograph on the Daytona. Not true on this one. I can just push it to stop, I can push to reset, and push to start again. And you never have to unscrew anything. They're really just there to protect the pushers. The crown is a standard screw-down crown. What's unusual about this watch from the chronograph standpoint is that the minute counter, I think this is pretty ingenious. We've all seen how the Rolex Yachtmaster 2 works. It's one of the most complicated movements that Rolex has ever made, and it has the regatta countdown timer. Omega has done a lot of regatta watches as well. We've even reviewed some regatta watches here on our channel. But this one, they took the minute counter, and by making it this triangle, one side of the triangle, the left side, is counting the minutes of the chronograph if you're using it as a standard chronograph. The other side is an arrow pointing at the countdown that goes from 5 to 1. So when you hear the start signal and you know that that's the 5-minute warning, this counts it down until you see the start. And it's all just integrated into one counter. It's a beauty and simplicity. There's no reason for it to be a really complicated design to be able to count 5 minutes. And so Omega recognized that and made this watch where to me, this is one of the most beautiful things if you can take something that has before seen as something really complicated to make and just really simple it down where there's not nearly as many moving parts or unusual things to read. One of the things I like about this watch is that not only is the case and bezel titanium and the case back and the locking deployant buckle, all of that's grade 5 titanium. But even the dial is titanium, and it's marked with a little TI right above the center pinion. So you can see the dial is a sort of a sandblasted titanium. It has an interesting shimmer to it. I think it's a beautiful dial. It has a chapter ring around the edge. It has the turning bezel that allows you to line up the 12 o'clock pip with your minute hand. And so you could actually be timing a couple of things at the same time with this watch, because as you can turn this, you're timing minutes from your minute hand on the watch while you're also running the chronograph. Pretty cool feature. If you saw this in the dark and you saw the lume shot, you'd see that all of the lume on the watch is blue, except for the minute hand and the pip are green. So it makes it real easy to tell what you're reading in a low light condition. The case back on this one is not an exhibition case back, although it's a very cool movement that's in the watch. It has the logo for the ETNZ team. Now that stands for Emirates Team New Zealand. And this is the airline Emirates, not United Arab Emirates, so don't worry about that. This is a team that has just taken the world by storm, extremely popular America's Cup team. And when you see these, I'm sure you've seen their sailing yachts, they look more like aircraft these days. There's so much technology involved, and they've modeled so sort of a design feature. The finish on the strap is modeled after the sails on the sailing yacht. And then you have the logo here as well. And this watch came out in 2015 before the 35th America's Cup. And it seemed like everybody in the world watched that America's Cup. This particular one that we have, the warranty card's dated 2018, but that's not unusual for a watch to have been produced in 1 year and sold in another year. So never let that worry you if it's a couple of years difference between what you know to be the production year and what you see on the warranty card. But because this is titanium and ceramic and sapphire, even though it's a 44 millimeter watch, it wears really nicely. I mean, I'm not going to say that this is going to fit under the cuff of a dress shirt. It's about 18 millimeters thick, but my wrists aren't that big. They're about 7 1/4, and I could definitely carry this watch. I think it looks great on just about anybody. And it's a little bit deceptive because it doesn't feel like a big, heavy 44 millimeter watch, even though it is. I think that the lightness of the titanium sort of offsets that, and it makes it a little bit deceptive. But even smaller wrists than mine could carry it. It's a beautiful watch. I think it's good for anyone who's a fan of America's Cup. Maybe you're a fan of the ETNZ team. Maybe you just like a different look to your Seamaster, or you like titanium versus steel. A lot of people out there have an allergy where steel bothers them. Titanium is hypoallergenic, so this could be the watch for you. But I think it's also just great, just purely from an aesthetic look. This is one of the coolest looking special editions, and I like the way Omega is real happy to celebrate their association with the America's Cup team. And I love that they came out with this watch using the team colors of the silver, white, red, and black. It's just all around a great watch. Give us a call. We'll be happy to go over all the details and see if it's still in stock for you.